invisible external factors influencing our lives. Xiefeng. May 9th, 2020. 影响人生的8个外在隐形因素. 8 invisible external factors influencing our lives. Xiefeng. May 9th, 2020. Translated by Q and edited by Care. We should be aware of these 8 mysterious and invisible factors that influence our lives. Feng Shui, geomantic omens, gods and deities, grievances and curses of others, ancestral virtues and sins, solar radiation, socio-ecological environments, destiny trajectories, mathematics. Let us examine each one of them in greater detail. Feng Shui mainly refers to one's geographical and atmospheric environments, the veins flowing underground, the humidity or dryness of the climate, whether the air is fresh and its flow is smooth and unobstructed, whether there is sufficient light and the geomagnetic field is comfortable and pleasant, as well as the water quality and the chemical elements contained within and whether it is alkaline or acidic, and so on. It is really not easy to find a perfect geomantic omen place. The best way to avoid long-term damage to yourself by certain unfavorable factors is to change your living space often. Most chronic diseases are caused by Feng Shui, and they can be cured after changing one's environment. For example, if people with arthritis who live in humid areas can relocate themselves to places with drier humidities for 3 to 5 years, their arthritis can heal completely. People in my hometown in the 1,000-year world never get sick for many reasons, but one of them is that people change their living environments often. This is why I emphasize that Life-genuine Celestials must move to another home every 3 years. When there are 256 homes, new oasis for life, on the earth, it will be hard to get sick for a lifetime if you relocate yourself every 3 years. Affection of gods and deities. Everything has spirituality. What we call heaven gods, mountain gods, water gods, earth gods, and so forth are actual gods and deities, and if we worship them in our hearts, then we will have no bad luck. For example, if you want to climb a mountain, pray to it and ask its god for protection, and you will not fall or injure yourself during your climb. If you pray to a river god or deity when crossing its river, then you will cross it safely. If you soothe and comfort the trees, flowers, insects, birds, and beasts where you live, then you will face no misfortune. Other people's grievances and curses are very harmful to life. If you do not believe me, then you should live among people who are full of grievances. It will not only make people lose their fighting spirits, courage, and confidence in their pursuit of better lives, but it will also cause people to become depressed, get sick, and have nightmares. Curses are even more powerful. They are silent harm from their hearts and invisible thought powers. It is also a curse to secretly cut a ground vein or manipulate an ancestor's grave. Curses will lead to the declines and extinctions of families and nations. They will even lead to sudden disasters, so it is best to remain cognizant. Ancestral virtue and sin karma have great impacts on life. An ancestor's virtuous karma can help their descendants to flourish and prosper, but their sin karma can lead them to wither and decline. Therefore, whether our lives are smooth or full of ups and downs, we must consult whether the karma that our ancestors created for us is virtuous or sinful. After learning the answer, we can find a way to remedy it. Otherwise, the trajectory of our lives will not change. Solar radiation. People whose ancestors lived in or near the tropics tend to have darker skin, while those whose ancestors lived closer to either of Earth's poles have lighter skin. This is caused by the amount of ultraviolet solar radiation that is present. We need to be exposed to the right amount for proper vitamin D production, neither too much nor too little. The amount varies with our latitude, and we can often change it to alleviate the damage of insufficient or excess ultraviolet solar radiation. The socio-ecological environment is crucial to the formation of human personalities and consciousnesses. It includes factors such as culture, beliefs, conventions, customs, overall values, and the outlooks on life, and the universe. If you are enclosed in a bad socio-ecological environment for a long time, you will become incapable of distinguishing fragrance from stench. It will be hard for you to know that there are mountains beyond mountains and skies above skies, and you will live very ignorantly. The trajectory of fate is an invisible binding force created by people's previous lives' merits and demerits, as well as an invisible manipulating force. The 18 unmanageable factors of life are an invisible arrangement of the trajectory of fate. Why am I so lucky or unlucky? Why have I met such a noble or unreasonable person? And other such questions are established arrangements along the trajectory of fate. To change that, to resolve or continue your trajectory of fate, you must self-cultivate and self-refine. The influence of mathematics is mysterious. Symmetry and proportion are very important. To be symmetrical and proportional, you must work hard on the math. The figure of the golden section looks beautiful, and this is caused by perfect symmetry and the most appropriate proportions. Symmetry and proportion must follow math strictly. Math is the principle of numbers. The more symmetrical things are, the longer their lifespans, and the more symmetrical a life is, the healthier it is. Once the math falls out of balance, a life will quickly decay and die, and it also becomes easier to suffer from nature. Therefore, how high a house should be, how big its doors and windows should be, how far or close it should be to the neighbor's house, how many sets of clothes and shoes should be stored in its closets, how high its tables, stoves, and windows should be, on which dates you can go out for trips or important meetings should be held, on which date the construction of the house should be started, how many plates, forks, and chopsticks should a family have, how big your house should be, and so on, are all in the math. If the math is suitable, then everything will go well, but if it is not, then everything will go against your will. There are 64 factors that affect people. The permutations and combinations of them are astronomical figures. As a person, it is hard to attend to one thing without neglecting another. The simplest method available is to follow the way of the greatest creator, the path of life. 雪峰与年轻人聊聊. Xiefeng chats with young people. Xiefeng. October 22nd, 2020. Translated by Qinyu and edited by Care. After more than 60 years of springs, summers, autumns, and winters, I have some insightful life experiences to share with young people. They may not be correct, but they are just for reference. Life is the perception and experience of life in the human world. The richer that experience is, the deeper its perception is. The deeper that perception is, the clearer its truth is. Therefore, life is about experiences, and only those experiences form the wealth that life possesses. Some of those experiences are frustration, disappointment, failure, despair, love, friendship, kinship, sex, holy love, the spring, summer, autumn, winter, wind, clouds, rain and snow endowed by nature, joy, freedom, happiness, satisfaction, sacredness, solemnity, beauty, infinity, the coming and leaving of predestined relationships on the trajectory of life, and the cycles of causes and effects. When you are young, do not pursue vanity and trends, be engulfed by the trends of the times. Compare yourself with others, or pursue material possessions, such as buying real estate, cars, expensive consumer goods, high-end supplies, and so forth. If you focus on material abundance and possessions, then you are heading towards decadence, corruption, depravity, pain, troubles, and death. Rather, you should spend your time and energy on learning scientific knowledge and skills, how to behave, the teachings of gods, Buddhas, and celestials, and how to enhance the value of your life. Do not study metaphysics or enter religious groups, political groups, or various cultivation groups because they are all problematic. Especially do not learn anything about magical powers, special abilities, or spell powers. I do not even advocate the premature learning of Buddhism, Taoism, or divine law, let alone supernatural powers. Learning is to enrich one's understanding and to improve the quality of their life, not to be an official or make money, glorify and illuminate one's ancestors, or to be outstanding, let alone to build your good fame forever, but to experience life more deeply and to experience fun and wit of life. Why is the most important thing in life to enrich one's understanding and improve the quality of life? You can only understand it if you look at and study stones. From diamonds, emeralds, rubies, sapphires, opals, aquamarine, tourmaline, moonstones, and garnets to pebbles. Each of their values are completely different. Although we cannot always be human diamonds and emeralds, we cannot let ourselves become the pebbles among people. The more precious the stones are, the more embedded they are into the most sacred places, and the rougher they are, the more they are laid under people's feet. If someday someone can become a god, you will know that the purer their quality of life, the more they will live in a free and perfect world, and the lower their quality of life, the more they will live in a world of control and dilapidation. When you are young, do not waste your mind on building relationships with people because the cost of doing so is very high. Many people spend their precious time, energy, and even wealth on maintaining relationships, but it is not worth it. As long as they are people, they will part ways with you. Lasting relationships are almost impossible to maintain. Following predestined relationships is best, but not maintaining them deliberately. True confidence will appear on your road to strive forward instead of in the relationships you maintained by racking your brains. If you are a precious gemstone, then you will not need to establish relationships deliberately because people will chase you. If you are a cobblestone, then no matter how you rack your brains to establish relationships, people will abandon you. We are currently living in the era of network information, and the biggest characteristic of it is impetuousness. People are impetuous, markets are impetuous, society is impetuous, religion and political parties are all impetuous. There are bubbles everywhere, and they will burst at any time. Therefore, learn to calm down and think and study those that can last longer. According to my observation and analysis, 95% of the internet's content, including social media, is rubbish. Therefore, if you invest your time and energy with social media on the internet, you will be collecting rubbish and you will be dealing with rubbish. In the long run, you will become a garbage collector. There are three major wealths in life: material wealth, spiritual wealth, and soul wealth. When you are young, you should pursue soul wealth first, then spiritual wealth, and material wealth last. If you have a healthy body, that is equal to having material wealth. It can be said that health is the first material wealth of life. Thus, you should take good care of your body, do not stay up late, do not smoke, avoid drugs and alcohol, do not overeat, but eat in an orderly manner, and do not do so indiscriminately to satisfy your appetite. Your first priority in life is to honor your parents. How your parents treat you is their business, but as children, do what children should do. There are many ways to do this. The most important is to not let your parents worry about you and rush about and overwork for you. You may not be able to provide superior material wealth for your parents, but at least do not let your parents work hard to provide you with superior material conditions because you are a human, not a pig, and your parents raised you to adulthood. After you have reached the age of 18 years, you have to walk on your own, and you can no longer rely on your parents for your survival. In this way, even if you cannot afford to support your parents in their old age and bury them, at least you will not have too much guilt in your heart, and in the eyes of heaven, you will be regarded as a reasonable person, a person who can be blessed. I have compiled a book, Treasures of Classical Advice, which is the essence of the wisdom and experiences of human sages. It is worth reading. I hope that you will read it when you are free, because you will definitely benefit from it. 共产主义，劳苦大众的唯一幸福之路. Communism is the only way to happiness. For the toiling masses. Xiefeng. November 20th, 2020. Translated by Qinyu and edited by Care. Communism is actually sharing, and the higher the degree of sharing of things, the greater their value. The most effective way to maximize the value of all resources is to share them with everyone, which is communism's essence. People are inherently selfish, so they reject communism intuitively, and they are most afraid of sharing when they have little material wealth. If a person is so poor that they only have a broken bicycle, then they will be unwilling to allow anyone else to ride it. This is human nature. However, when people not only have material wealth, but also power, status, and reputations, they always want to make themselves and their families live more luxuriously than those around them so that others will envy them. This satisfies their vanity, so they are reluctant to share anything with others. Since Marx founded his theory of communism, the communist movement has almost always been promoted violently and in ways which damage the interests of the property-owning class. The imperfection of Marx's communist theory and the blindness of the behavior of communist practitioners has led to the failure of the communist movement. As a result, when people hear about communism, they instinctively hate it and resist it, which is completely understandable. According to historical experience, I can understand why people demonize and resist communism. This should be a lesson learned, and it can even be said that they are doing right because the so-called communist movements throughout history have run completely counter to the real thing. True communism is gentle, soft, and civilized, not coercive, violent, or depriving others of their property. Who has suffered the most in human history? Of course, it has always been the toiling masses, that is, the common people. For thousands of years, their condition has basically not changed much, and they are still the bearers of most of the suffering. I grew up in Asia, spent more than 10 years in Africa, lived in North America for nearly 4 years, and I have also spent a few months with primitive tribes in Oceania. I felt and experienced deeply the pain and troubles of the commoners everywhere I went. In order to relieve the suffering and troubles of the toiling masses, I have immersed myself in the Bible, Buddhist scriptures, the Quran, the Tao Te Ching, and I have also concentrated on Western spiritual practices and Eastern Osho. I have always paid attention to the global climate and ecological changes, focusing on changes in global political ecology. What I want to tell mankind is that communism is the only bright way out for the common masses. So, what is communism? I have explained some of its theories, but no theories can reveal the essential characteristics of things, let alone analyze all the interpretations and extensions of them. It is only by creating real objects that people can observe intuitively and deeply that they will fully understand them. Therefore, Chanyuan Celestials and I created the purely communistic New Oasis for Life, formerly the Second Home. So if you want to know and understand what communism is, you can visit and experience the New Oasis for Life created by Life Chanyuan for yourselves. Many people equate communism with utopia, and there is nothing wrong with this understanding because utopia is the embryonic form of communism, but most of them throughout history have failed. In order to figure out the reasons for their failures, I have carefully analyzed some historical ones, especially the New Harmonious Village, founded by the utopian socialist practitioner, Owen in the United States. I wrote an article to analyze the reasons for its failure in which I opined that its core problem and the reason for its failure was that its utopian leaders did not have clear understandings and blueprints in their minds. They only relied on their passion and were crossing the river by feeling for the stones. So, when encountering the rush of wind, waves, and whirlpools, they could only drown in their rivers. In order to distinguish between the theories and practical activities of communism in history, I call the New Oasis for Life created by Life Chanyuan Xiefeng-style communism. This communism can resolve territorial disputes between countries and excessive consumption of natural resources, solve the corruption problem of government officials, avoid Young Galen-style tragedies, reduce criminal activities by 3/4, enable people to live and work in peace, eliminate war, turmoil, refugees, and hunger, reduce suicide rates by more than half, and can give 98% of the people happy, joyful, free, and blessed lives. Who are these toiling masses? The term refers to those who have suffered their entire lives for food, clothing, housing, transportation, life, old age, sickness, and death. Those who have been struggling for a lifetime and are still struggling. Those who have suffered and have been bullied, troubled, and tortured all their lives. Those who have been looking forward to getting rich every year, while year after year still wearing torn clothes. Those who lack security but see no hope. And those who hate government officials, but on the surface have to show smiles on their faces and be deferential and sycophant to the officials. In short, everyone who wants to live a good life with their hands and diligence are the toiling masses. The cruel reality is that they are people who want to live better lives by hard work, yet their hands cannot rid themselves of troubles, pains, anxiety, sorrow, and even fear throughout their entire lives. This is what happened thousands of years ago. It is the same today, and it will remain this way for thousands of years to come unless we change our traditional production and life mode completely and enter the Xiefeng-style communist society. Otherwise, they will only dream eternally of having better lives. Moral education is always fragile and vulnerable. Christian moral education, Buddhist moral education, Islamic moral education, Confucian moral education, and the moral education of all kinds of sages have been easily destroyed by the face of reality. Look no further than today's China. All Communist Party officials have been raised on Mao Zedong's ideological and moral education, but in the face of money and interests, Mao's thoughts have been shelved. The level of corruption is staggering. Millions of yuan, even tens of millions are not enough. They embezzled hundreds of millions, billions, or even tens of billions. These servants of the people never cared about the lives of all the young Galens? Who cares about the lives of the toiling masses? Very few. Did decades of moral education work? Not at all. Let us look at the recent U.S. presidential election. Before the result of the election had even been settled, the mainstream media in the United States rushed to declare Joe Biden as the president, followed by the heads of Western democracies such as Britain, France, Germany, Israel, and other similar countries which sent congratulatory letters to Biden for his election victory. Even the president of Taiwan, Tsai Ing-wen, who is known as a Democrat, hurriedly sent congratulatory messages to Biden. No matter who is elected president, respecting the facts and listening to the voices and wishes of the people is the basis and bottom line of morality. The mainstream media's announcements and the congratulations of foreign before the facts had emerged and the votes had been counted violates the basic bottom line of morality and does not conform to legal procedures. What should be emphasized here is that most people in Western society have been educated in Christian morality, but where is the morality of the mainstream media? Where is the morality of those national leaders? Democratic countries are like this, but moral education in non-democratic countries is not even worth considering. The facts tell us that moral education is not enough to allow the toiling masses to live and work in peace and contentment because all spiritual chicken soup is an anesthetic. The current rampant Buddhist preaching is even more of an anesthetic, and the preaching to return to traditional Chinese culture is tantamount to advocating for men to wear braids and long mandarin jackets and women to bind their feet. That mysterious and spooky preaching is a portion of poison. Those who care about the welfare of the toiling masses should seek and establish programs which fundamentally guarantee happy lives for them. It might be very good to say that we should put power in the cage of the system, such that government officials dare not, cannot, and would not have access to corrupt practices, but unfortunately, it is the system itself that is the best soil for officials to grow corrupt, so the system will be unable to restrain and stop it because it is its own hotbed of corruption. I ask, can this system shut down power? Can it shield officials from corruption? Of course not. There have been many changes of dynasties throughout Chinese history, but what were the results? The herbal soups changed, but the medicines did not. Individuals changed, but the system did not. The obvious result is that the toiling masses are still the toiling masses, and their toiling nature and destiny have been fundamentally unchanged. If you do not change the traditional production and life mode, then it is of no use to change the ones in charge. It is useless even if you adopt a separation of powers, such as in the United States if the president is Old Wang. The judiciary is run by his brother-in-law, the legislative power is under the control of his third aunt, and the media are controlled by his best friends. Toiling masses, use your heads. Would you have free and happy lives? Xiefeng-style communism is the only way to happiness for the toiling masses. The new oasis for life production and life mode, created by Life Genuine, is a paradise for everyone. Many poor people among the working people have fluky minds, and they always think that they can squeeze into the upper class and live the life of the best as they sharpen their heads. Yes, they have that chance. There have always been 1 or 2 people out of 10,000 who have achieved this wish, but the probability of success is much too low, and it is a path that very few common workers will ever take. There are also some commoners who think that since they have million yuan houses and cars worth several 100,000 yuan, that they no longer belong to that low level. In fact, they are self-anesthetized and daydreaming. If they cannot maintain control for 3 days, then their car is just a pile of scrap iron. If they do not have food for 3 days, their million yuan house is just a coat. If there is a major illness or disaster, their property and vehicles will not save them. There are even some poor toiling masses who think that since they have become civil servants with iron rice bowls, secure jobs, they feel that their futures are secure, but in fact that is just a temporary comfort for themselves, and when they get old, they will learn the feelings of life. The sour, sweet, bitter, hot, and salty tastes of life. In fact, Xiefeng-style communism is not only the road to happiness for the toiling masses, but also for capitalists and government officials, and the road for the cultivators to become celestials and Buddhas. The reason for this cannot be fully explained in a single article. If you have any doubts, please ask those who have lived and experienced Xiefeng-style communism. They can answer you. Remember this. Communism is the only way to happiness for the toiling masses and the only way out for mankind. 分享一点非常重要的做人常识. Sharing of some very important common sense of life. Xiefeng. Translated by Qinyu and edited by Care. October 19th, 2020. If your life is stable but stressed, see if you lack common sense in these areas. If the greatest creator came to you but you failed to recognize him, then your life will reincarnate again and again. If gods, Buddhas, and celestials have come to see you but you have been unaware, then you have not yet awakened, and you can only keep on sleeping. If noble people occasionally appear in your life but you do not acknowledge them, then it will be difficult for your life to have a turning point and change, and your hardships are inevitable. Among the three factors that change one's destiny, personality is a very important one. This person may be a god, Buddha, celestial, or noble on the path of your life, and as long as you know any of them, your destiny will develop and change for the better. But I found that no one knows the greatest creator, and when gods, Buddhas, and celestials come around, people do not know them either. When noble people come near, few will pay attention to them. Therefore, most people are just living beings, rather than otherworldly saints. Some people can change the trajectories and destinies of their lives, but it is unfortunate if they keep missing their chances. 5 major turning points impacted my life. 4 were from noble people, and 1 was related to the greatest creator. Had I not recognized the greatest creator, this tour guide that you know would not have been born, and were it not for the 4 noble people's guidance and help, I would be an old farmer in my hometown today. Where are the noble people, the gods, Buddhas, and celestials, and where is the greatest creator? They are all in your life and at your side. Why can you not see them, and why are you not aware of their existences? This has something to do with your consciousness and soul, as well as your understanding and realm. From your consciousness point of view, you cannot tell the priority of your life or reverse it, and from your spiritual point of view, your heart is too selfish and your mind is dim and closed. If your understanding is poor, then the sound of water running down mountains is noise, and if your realm is not high, and you cannot see beyond material content. For example, if I am the noble one in your life, then have I ever appeared before you? And if I have, then did you pay attention to me? If you did not, then you will not get anything from me, let alone change the trajectory and destiny of your life. How can it be considered that you have paid attention to me? When I speak, you must first listen carefully and then express your gratitude to me. When I come to you, you must stop what you are doing, mute your mobile phone, isolate yourself from the outside world, and communicate with me seriously and intently. When I post articles in WeChat, circles of friends, you should offer likes and show that you have me in your heart. When I show you the way, you must have no doubts, but rather start then and there. Such can be considered your having paid attention. So what kind of words and deeds are considered as your not having paid attention? When I talk to you, do you steer clear of my crucial points, not focus on the subjects of our conversations, and stray to topics that have nothing to do with my subjects? Do you talk too much and listen too little? When I came to you, or when you came to me, were you too busy looking at your phone and chatting with someone else to communicate seriously with me? When I posted an article, did you never offer a like, and therefore prove that I am not important to your consciousness? Were you so busy expressing yourself that you never reacted to my point of view, and so on? What I am saying is that there must be someone whose cognition is higher than yours in any group. Just as in a banquet, there must be a guest of honor. Therefore, after entering any group, the first thing that you must do is to find a person whose cognitive ability is higher than yours. As long as they are there, then you should talk less and listen more to them. In this way, you will benefit. Since they might be a celestial, Buddha, or the noble person in your life, they might well change your miserable destiny. There are mountains beyond mountains, skies above skies, people beyond people, and great masters beyond masters. Do not express yourself too much. When confronted by people with higher cognitive abilities, always listen, do not argue or express yourself, because the more you do, the worse you will be, because within the scope of his or her cognition, those actions can only show your limitations. When you become complacent, they will have already abandoned you. In this way, you will have missed the gods, Buddhas, celestials, and noble people, and missed your opportunity to change your destiny. When one thinks that they are completely right, then there is no room or opportunity for them to sublimate anymore. Their sublimation will be over, and the gods, Buddha, celestials, and noble people will avoid them. All those who insist that they are right will distance themselves from gods, Buddhas, celestials, and noble ones, and auspicious lights will no longer shine on them, because they will have already set their shape, and what they now are will definitely remain the same in the future. People have many opportunities to change their destinies throughout their lives, but most are not blessed to seize them. Gods, Buddhas, celestials, and nobles will appear once or many times in each person's life, but whether you can get to know, meet, and accept them depends on your own thoughts, words, and deeds. Of course, the core factor is your consciousness, state of mind, realm, and understanding. Remember, when you feel that you are right, are obsessed with it, and are arrogant about it, then you are finished. 信念和希望的神奇力量. The magical power of faith and hope. Xiefeng, March 21st, 2021. Edited by Qin Yu. On September 9, 2019, the World Health Organization reported that, on average, 800,000 people commit suicide globally every year. According to statistical analysis, the number of suicide attempts is 20 times that of completed suicides. Suicide is a result of losing faith and hope. The impact of suicide and suicide attempts on people is estimated at 4 individuals affected per person, resulting in 64 million people worldwide experiencing extreme suffering annually. If we add the suffering caused by diseases, conflicts, poverty, wars, and disasters, it's safe to say that, not exaggerating, 2 to 3 billion people live in pain every year. We cannot turn a blind eye to this. We must liberate people from suffering. The way to liberation is through faith and hope, because faith and hope have a miraculous power. In a major earthquake in Los Angeles, 14 children were rescued 36 hours after the quake. The core factor behind their rescue was the faith and hope of one child and his father. The father once told his son, "No matter what happens, I will be with you." The son's faith and hope were, "My father will come to save me." This belief and hope infected the other 13 children, helping them survive the dangerous period of fear and despair, and ultimately being rescued. On August 5, 2010, a collapse occurred at the San Jose copper mine in northern Chile. 33 miners were trapped 700 meters underground, and those above ground didn't know if they were alive or dead. The 33 miners managed to take refuge in a shelter, but their situation was dire. The shelter held only enough food for 2 to 3 days, yet they persisted for a full 17 days. They survived by consuming just 2 spoonfuls of canned fish per day per person. How did they manage to survive until they were finally rescued on the 69th day? The answer is faith and hope. In times of despair, as long as one holds onto faith and hope, there is a chance to transform danger into safety. In today's era, one of the best examples of maintaining faith and hope is the Chanyuan Celestials of Life Changyuan.